Hi. So thank you, Ariana, for letting me know that I did not upload this video on how to read the document. So I'm really hoping that I get through this in record time. I'm hoping that this doesn't take any more than 10 minutes of your time to read through and just trying to get an understanding of what the documents are for your homework. So you have to be able to respond to one of these, one of these assertions. You have to be able to support one of these assertions using evidence that we've accrued from not only our own knowledge from reading and then from also looking at reading the book in AMSCO, from taking notes on industrialization, but also on the crash course video on capitalism. We're going to use all of that to write an LEQ response, so a body paragraph response, choosing one of these to be our topic sentence, so either A or B to be able to do that. Before we get started with reading, I just want us to review our vocab. And remember, capitalism is an economic system based on private ownership and free market competition. Knowing that socialism is the opposite kind of capitalism, where it's saying that the government owns the means of the production, the government owns the factories. And then the proletariat are the working classes. Those are the people that actually work in government. And the bourgeoisie, I like to say the bougie people, they're the middle class. They're the upperly mobile. They own most of the wealth and the means of production. These are our owners. These are our factory owners and such. So let's go through and start reading with this one. We're going to start with Adam Smith, Wealth of Nations. He's kind of known as the father of capitalism. And so this is probably going to be very pro-industry, very pro-bourgeoisie, bougie people. So in that way. So okay, so that's been 1 minute. Let's go ahead and go through. And as we're reading, follow along with me and see my annotations, so it helps us get our understanding of what was one response to industrialization from 1750 to 1900. So let's see what this capitalist response was. In a pen factory, one man draws out the wire, another straights it, third cuts it, fourth points it, a fifth grinds it at the top for receiving the head. That kind of sounds like they're kind of describing assembly line work. So they're describing an assembly line, right, of each person having a job. Each person, therefore, making a 10th part of 48,000 pens might be considered as making 4,800 pens in a day. So it's saying even though they're only responsible for one part, they could be considered as they're responsible for making this many. But if they all had wrought separately and independently and without any of them having been educated to this particular business, they certainly could not, each of them, have made 20, perhaps not even 1 pen in a day. So this is saying that the assembly line process, this is a boost of productivity. Like this assembly line process boosts productivity. Each worker has a role, and it helps, and industrialization boosts productivity. And if they have this boost of productivity, it's good for everybody. Let's keep reading. This great increase of the quantity of work, which in consequence of the division of labor, so an increase in the quantity of work, an increase in their productivity, because of the division of labor, the same number of people are capable of performing is owing the invention of the great number of machines which facilitate and abridge labor. So it's saying that what's really helping boost productivity? Industry. And enable one man to do the work of many. This creates universal opulence and wealth. So the first thing that we see is that industrialization boosts productivity. People are able to produce more, right? The second thing that it's saying is this boost in productivity creates a universal opulence of wealth, which extends itself to the lower class of people. This is number 2, in that all people get wealthy because of increased productivity. So industry actually boosts the productivity for everybody. Boosts the wealth of everybody. Man has almost constant need for the help of his brethren. Ooh, we all need each other, right? And it is in vain for him to expect it from their benevolence only. We need each other, but we're not just doing it out of the kindness of our heart. Benevolence just means kindness. He will be more likely to prevail if he can interest their self-interest in his favor and show them that it is for their own advantage to do for him what he requires of them. Whoever offers to another a bargain of any kind proposes to do this. Give me that which I want, and you shall have that which you want. This is big. So Adam Smith is going on and saying, like, we all benefit from giving each other, like everybody benefits from trading one thing for another. So trade is good, right? It is not from benevolence of the butcher, the brewer, the baker that we expect our dinner, but from their regard to their own self-interest. We trade on our own self-interest to get certain things. So that maybe I trade my labor so that I can get money so that I can get food. Perhaps they trade in their food so they can get money so they can get something better. Every man is rich or poor according to the degree to which he can afford to enjoy the necessaries, conveniences, and amusements of human life. But after the division of labor has once thoroughly taken place, it is but a very small part of these with which a man's own labor can supply him. The far greater part of them he must derive from the labor of other people, and he must be rich or poor according to the quantity of that labor which he can command. So you're only wealthy as far as you can either provide labor or that you're able to pay for other labor, which either you can provide on your own or you can afford to purchase. So Adam Smith is responding to industrialization by saying industrialization is great because it helps boost productivity. We're able to make more things in record time. 2, that we're able to, right here, oops, I don't know why I did that. I'm sorry. I don't know how to undo it. Okay. 2 is that all people are benefiting from industrialization because of this boost in productivity, and wealth is trickling down from the factory owners, the bourgeoisie, to the lower class. And then 3, they're saying, like, hey, trade is good. Like, we're trading one thing for another. We're basically being able to trade on our labor in order to be able to, it's necessary. It's a necessary good for all of us. So we have these 3 things that are made from this first one. That took us about 5.5 minutes to get through. So that's Adam Smith, and this is the capitalist stance. Let's go to Karl Marx's stance. Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, the Communist Manifesto. We know that they're going to say something that's opposite. And we know that socialism, it's probably going to be pro-worker. Because we know that socialism is that. And it's probably going to be a little bit more anti-bourgeois, right? Anti-bourgeoisie, anti-bougie. Okay, let's read Karl Marx. Freeman and slave. Patrician and plebeian. Lord and serf. So we have these compare and contrasts here. I wonder where they're going. Guild master and journeyman. In a word, oppressor and oppressed. Bam. They're doing it. So they're trying to say oppressor and oppressed. Who do we think that is probably comparable to the oppressor and the oppressed? Perhaps the oppressor, according to Karl Marx and to Marx and Engels, the oppressor are the factory owners. They're the bougie people, right? The bourgeoisie. And the oppressed must most likely be the workers. Okay? Let me keep going. Stood in constant opposition to one another, carried on in an uninterrupted and now hidden, now open fight, a fight that each time ended. So it's saying that the oppressor and the oppressed, they stand on opposite sides. They stand in opposition to one another. And it says that they're involved in this fight, and this fight is going to end in one of two ways. It's because it says either. So either lets me know there's going to be one or two. Either a revolutionary constitution of a society at large. That's our either. So that's one. It's going to end in that. And we know that those revolutionary constitutions, it is like the revolutions that we talked about. The Latin American Revolution, the French Revolution, so on. Or in the common ruin of the contending classes. So either it's going to end in a revolution or the apocalypse, utter destruction, right? Sorry, that doesn't look like destruction, but that's what it's supposed to be. The proletariat. I'm trying to remember what the proletariat is again. I'm going to go back up, see my defined words. Proletariat, working classes, going back down, is a class of laborers who live only so long as they find work. This is so sad. They have a very short life. They can only live to find work. They work to live. And who only find work so long as their labor increases capital. They can only find work if their labor increases capital. What's capital? If it increases their profit. So laborers only live to work. And they can only work if they're making a profit for somebody else. These laborers who must sell themselves piecemeal are a commodity like every other article of commerce and are consequently exposed to all the vicissitudes of competition, to the fluctuations of the market. These laborers are at the mercy of the owners. And the owners, they're the bougie class. Right? So the first point he's making is that like laborers are dispensable. They're like if nobody wants to hire them, they can't be hired. And if they can't be hired, they die. Isn't that sad? Here you go. And this is a laborer dying. Sad. Okay, let's look at what else Engels and Marx are saying. Owing to the extensive use of machinery and to the division of labor, the work of the proletarians has lost all individual character, and consequently all charm for the workmen. So it's lost all character and charm. Work is not fun. Work isn't fun or rewarding. So that's what I said. It's not fun, nor is it rewarding. He becomes an appendage of the machine. Oh, they literally, appendage is like an arm, a leg, a finger. Have you ever thought about how gross it is that your fingers are just more tiny little arms? Disgusting. And it is only the most simple, most monotonous, and most easily acquired knack that is required of him. Hence, the cost of production of a workman is restricted almost entirely to the means of substance that he requires for maintenance and for the propagation of his race. This is saying that they're dehumanizing. I'm going to erase that there. Like, workers are dehumanized in industrialization. They're literally just part of the machine, right? They're just part of the machine. With the development of industry, the proletariat not only increases in number. Okay, so as industrialization goes on, the working classes increase in number. This is their population gets bigger. It becomes more concentrated in greater masses. It's concentrated in an urban area. Its strength grows, and it feels that strength more. Uh-oh. What are they trying to say they should do with this? This increasing improvement of machinery, ever more rapidly developing, makes their livelihood more and more precarious. More machinery, more industrialization makes life more dangerous. That's what precarious means. The collisions between the individual workman and the individual bourgeois take more and more the character of collisions between two classes. What? So like now we have these two classes. There's the working class and there's the owning class, and they're at odds with one another. They're fighting each other. Remember the oppressed, the oppressor, and the oppressed here. The proletariat will use its political supremacy to wrestle By degree, all capital from the bourgeoisie. Ooh. The proletariat. Ooh, so they're saying, how are the proletariat going to get power? The proletariat are going to get power. I'll write it down here. Workers gain power by taking political authority. All capital, and then all capital. Remember, capital is profit, so it's not just political. It's political and economic authority from the owners. All capital from the bourgeoisie to centralize all instruments of production in the hands of the state. All of it, the state, is the government. So authority from the owners and give it to the government. Bam. Ready? I.e. of the proletariat organized as the ruling class and to increase the total productive forces as rapidly as possible. So Engels and Marx are saying, like, one, we had our statement number one is that, labor is at the mercy of the owners. They have no power, like they have nothing. 2, industrialization dehumanizes laborers. 3, the only way for laborers to get power, to not be at the mercy of the owners and not to be dehumanized, is to grant that power of production, that economic and political power, back to the government so the government controls the means of production. So in 15 minutes, we read those two. I want you to be able to answer these two, and I'm going to take out one from you for each of these. And then you'll be able to utilize your top ones for this one down here. Socialists and capitalists disagree most strongly about which of the following. Which of the two were the topic of both of those of these readings and of the crash course that you listened to? Was it the extent of the use of machinery in the process of industrialization? Is it just about machines? Is it whether or not the bourgeoisie will see a rising standard of living in industrialization? Are they trying to find out whether or not the bourgeoisie, remember the factory owners, the middle class, will see an increase in their standard of living and their wealth? Are they talking about the effects of the division of labor and mechanization on working classes? Or whether or not people are motivated by their own self-interest? I'm going to take D out for you right away because we only see self-interest being talked about in the first article and the document and not in the second one. This next one, I'm going to have you read because Zekin's argument in the passage most clearly supports which of the following ideologies. When you read this, which one of these ideologies have we talked about is most supported here? Here's a clue. These two, we've got capitalism, we've got socialism. So we know that it's probably going to be between capitalism and socialism. So read what he's talking about here and to be able to determine your answer. And to right here, you're going to choose which one do you agree with. I've already given you the assertion that's helping you respond to this question. On one response to industrialization between 1750 and 1900, you're either A, one response to industrialization was the rise of new ways of thinking to judge its effects on society, and this is going more toward the first document with Smith. Or B, one response to industrialization was efforts to improve the conditions of low-wage workers, and this is going to our second document with Marx and Engels. So we've got capitalism here. We've got socialism here. How can you be able to write? Remember, you do not need to rewrite the assertion. Just jump straight ahead into your evidence and analysis. Remember that we're going to flood this with evidence. We're going to throw so much evidence that supports it. I should see you using the names and using the terminology that we've gone over. So, for example, if you're going to be answering A, you should be mentioning Adam Smith. You should be mentioning capitalism. You should be mentioning wealth of nations. You should be mentioning industrialization. You should be mentioning bourgeois, factories, wealth. All those should be in here. And your evidence goes up top. Down here, and this is where we lost it before, down here, your last sentence should be why. That's your analysis there. Why does this exist? Right? Oh, that looks really bad. So I'm going to say, oh no. This is showing us down here, your last 2 to 3 sentences, they should be the why. So if the response to industrialization, what were the effects that Marx was saying were the condition of low wage workers? Why does he see the effects that way? What is it about, why do socialists see the effects of workers that way? If it's about new ways of thinking about society, why would industrialists possibly see industrialization as being such a great thing? That's it. That took me 19 minutes and 22 seconds. I'm going to stop. Hopefully that's not too long. Bye. See you tomorrow.